paid for. So that's what I'm trying to see, looking at the potential as to where can you add experiences, where can you add potential that your guests can enjoy is something that we really look into. And we pitch it to the clients, and if they dive into it and they bite it, then great, the project is hugely successful for us.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Radical Hospitality Podcast, where we explore the intersection of great design, exceptional guest experience, and really building lasting wealth through hospitality. I'm your host, Zeke Freeman, architect, developer, and founder of Root Architecture and Development. Today, I'm joined by Ishita Lalan, founder and principal of Ishita Interiors. Ishita and her husband, Harshad, have built an amazing portfolio, both design and investment and short-term rental management. So they're kind of covering all realms. They just bring a wealth of knowledge. They're super open with what they share with the industry and have just been creating some of the most amazing, unique spaces that I've seen. So I'm very excited to hop in and have a conversation with Ishita, learn about her process, some of the work that they've been doing, and then, just have a good chat. So Ishita, welcome to the Radical Hospitality Show.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you for having me. I'm ready to dive right in.
Awesome.
Really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. It was great catching up with you in North Carolina a few months ago and hearing you speak, seeing both you and Harshad's continually developing story. So I'd love for the audience that doesn't know you, maybe just give us a little bit of your background, how you got into doing what you're doing now with interior design and short-term rentals, and kind of get us caught up here.
Absolutely. Well, our story is a little bit interesting in a way where we were the first immigrants in this country. Harshad moved here in 2004 for his bachelor's and master's. I came to the United States in 2018, which is when we got married. So it's not even been a decade yet. But, with every immigrant, when we came here, we had a dream. We'll have a stable W-2 job, work our way and build a beautiful life together. And that led to many things. I was working in an architecture firm in Iowa, and Harshad was in an aerospace engineering firm, both working on our W-2 lanes. And as we were talking about what does the future look like, just like every married couple, we were just looking at what the future looked like. And for us, we were looking at, especially me, I come from an entrepreneurial background. I've always seen my dad having a business. So that I've always gravitated towards it. I've always wanted to have something of my own. Also, we love travel, so we wanted some time freedom where we are not caught up with W-2 always, having PTOs to play our lives, surround our lives by. So that led us to thinking what the future looks like. And investments. We were not thinking we were a young couple, but we started thinking about investments out of just 401k. Real estate investment came in forefront. We ventured into multifamilies, explored that realm. I personally did not enjoy that space as much because it did not have as much creativity that I could explore. But as we were traveling a lot, also on the side, we were house hacking our condo. I kind of had a realization moment or an aha moment that hospitality is something that I'm getting pulled towards. And looking at short-term rentals picking up in 2018, 2019, that's exactly what we started. And with our house hacking, that was paying our mortgage, and we were living in our own house, for free. And then we had a good pool of money towards the end of the year. That definitely was an aha moment for us, which led us into short-term rental investing, it was a can of worms that opened for me because there was so much room for creativity in terms of design that I could explore with every short-term rental, with every different location that we were investing in. And I just absolutely loved it. And that's how our journey started as investors in short-term rentals. We got into a lot of value add renovation projects that we were literally bootstrapped. We did not have that much capital to hire labor. So Harshad and I, in our first few projects, have painted walls, done every job on the house that we could, which we had a great learning experiences with, and which helped us grow our design arms, because that's what people noticed. People reached out with word of mouth. But that's the power of word of mouth. And I could start a design arm while our investments are still going.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I didn't know you started the investment side first. I think so many people are kind of stuck in, a job and they think, well, the first way out is to, rather than doing what I'm doing as a job, do what I'm doing as an entrepreneur. And I think it's interesting that you guys went into investment and then that opened up the door. Why did you guys not just stay investment? Why did you continue to go ahead and open up the door as an interior designer? And you came out of architecture as well. So why not open up an architecture firm? Led kind of to that creation of Ishita's Interior.
Yeah, good question. I was in the path of like, as I said, I moved here in 2018. I got a W-2 job in like probably mid of 2018. So the requirements of getting licensed in architecture here are different. And then when I got into the weeds of things, it seemed daunting. Like it seemed a lot of years to get an architecture license. I was prepared. I was okay with working towards it. But I knew that it would take me 7, 8 years to get licensed architect license in the US. So that was the path I was working towards. And the free time that we had, like after W2 at like, after 5 o'clock, Harshad and I could go back and work on our investment properties or work on the next acquisition that we want to do. And as young couple, to be honest, it's not that we had a lot of capital that we could invest in like 4 or 5 properties a year. We could do one project a year, which we would go all in. So investment was the way we started, but it was a slow process. It was like one property a year. So it was not going to like accelerate we were working towards financial freedom, but it was not like we were going to be financially free in like 2 years or 3 years. We didn't know. Like we were just going with the flow. We didn't know what it had in store for us. We were learning, we were consuming content from influencers in the industry. We were reading books. We were becoming part of some mastermind groups who have done this before. So we were learning and executing whatever we knew. And
Did the interior firm or the real estate investing get you out of the W-2?
Yeah, so for me, my interior design firm got me out of W because that's a constant inflow of like clients coming in. So with my life, what happened was we were investing and we had like COVID had hit in 2020, right? And we are here on immigration visas. My visa actually did not get renewed because of COVID delays that were happening in the offices, which had me pause my job. Like, because it did not renew, I could not officially work. So my HR told me that, hey, whenever your lawyers tell us that they have the document ready for us, that you have your employment visa again renewed, you can come back. That gave me that 3 to 4 months of the time wherein there were a lot of like freelance jobs of designing for short-term rentals were inflowing through Facebook groups, and I was consuming it all to a point where I saw that I did not know there was so much demand of designing short-term rentals. It was just the beginning. Harshad and I literally sat down one day and we were like, hey, let's see where this goes. If I can just replace even half of my income, I think we can just keep pushing because we were in Midwest. Harshad had a very stable job. We would have been just fine, the two of us on living off of one. Our house was getting house hacked. So we were okay with financial, the way we were balancing. So I just literally took the leap of, like a plunge, leap of faith. Like, let me not join my W-2 again. Let me just keep on doing these projects and consuming projects. Year one, I actually completely replaced my income with the freelance jobs that I was getting.
That's amazing.
Which is what I was like, now there's no looking back. I'm not going to my W-2. I'm just going to keep on increasing my clients and my design arm. So investment. And later what happened, the income that was coming in for my design freelance jobs, at that time I was a solopreneur. Today we have a studio. But at that time, whatever the income was coming in, we were flowing into our investment property. So it became a nice, good rotation for us, which helped us increase our investment portfolio as well.
Yeah. And I definitely want to get into how you've developed and grown your studio, which I think is amazing. But I want to kind of look a little bit at you transitioned from starting as an investor to and working a W-2 to then starting your own firm. But you're looking at it probably with a different eye than most designers. I heard you talk a little bit about this, designing with a return on investment. I think that's very unique. And so how did the investment side inform and help grow your designer side?
So the way we would invest, right? Whatever we learn from our experiences are exactly what we are putting in our studios. We are learning from what we have learned. So from an architecture and interior design background, I have worked on residential and commercial. Short-term rental is a different beast altogether, right? Residential, you are designing for a primary homeowner that is going to be their forever home. They are not looking at return on investment. They are looking as a lifestyle asset for themselves. But when you come to short-term rental designing, people are investing the money in for some kind of return. So one of our very initial projects that Harshad and I were completely all in. We had pulled our money from 401k. We were bootstrapped. We did all the work ourselves. At that time in 2019, a purchase price of $30,000 of a 2-bedroom cabin on the riverfront. We knew the importance of location. We knew the importance that it had the potential, but it was a huge amount and we were all in. But when we went through the cosmetic renovation, it was not even a value add. We did not add extra square footage. It was just converting a grandma's cabin into a very modern mid-century cabin by painting the walls, refinishing the floors, getting furniture in and adding amenities like a mere amenity like a hot tub, which was so a differentiator in that market in 2019. We're literally talking pre-COVID era right now. So we did this entire project in 6 months because it was just the two of us working on the project while we are having a W-2 job over the weekends at tiny, etc. We go through the refinancing cycle. So we had heard through Bigger Pockets podcast, the whole BRRRR strategy, right? And that's what we were trying to implement as well.
So what is BRRRR for people who haven't heard that acronym?
BRRRR is you buy, then you remodel, then you refinance, and you rent, right? So that's an entire loop that closes. So you buy the property, which is what we bought for $330,000. We renovated, so we put our capital in, which was around $50,000 all in renovation because it was a 2-bedroom. Labor was all us because we were bootstrapped. So it was a very minimal investment at that point, but a big amount in 2019 for us. We put in $50,000 all in of our money. So all in the entire project, we were $380,000 in. After 6 months, we go back to the bank and tell them that, hey, we have this property, we have remodeled it. What would be the new valuation of the property after all the cosmetic renovations that we've done? The bank comes in, reappraises the property. During COVID, all the property prices were dropped, like interest rates were dropping, which we were wanting to take advantage of. And the refinance amount or the reappraisal for that same property that we bought 6 months ago turned out to be $475,000. So in 6 months, we were able to force appreciate the value of the property by $100,000 and then pull out all our initial investments and that we put in the property. And now this property is sitting for free without our capital investment. And we started renting it. Year 1, it did $120,000 as a rental income. Year 2, it is still on the trajectory, anywhere from $80,000 to $90,000 a year of gross revenue that property performs. So it's paying its maintenance, mortgage, everything on its own. And we still own the property. So that's the whole cycle. And that was an aha moment for us. So that was a return on investment. It's an infinite return on investment at that point. And that's exactly what we do for our clients. So when our clients come to us, we look at the potential of the property. How can we look in different areas. Is there any added square footage that we can add to the property? Is there any cosmetic renovation that we do? Or how can we increase the rental revenue by adding more occupancy, amenities? So all of that study is what we do. We present it to the client. We execute the idea. And the BRRRR strategy that has helped us, we try the clients implement that too.
And so do you actually do that for your clients as part of the design strategy, like go through and look at occupancy and ADRs and what that potential ROI is? Or do you kind of leave that into the client's court and then and give high level suggestions? How much do you guys get into the numbers when you're starting to look at a interior design or renovation project?
No, we do deep dive a whole lot. We call it as a consultation call. So it's a 90-minute call with our clients that we do before we deep dive, before we jump on our drawing board. That 90-minute call has first 30 minutes of market research. So every property in every location is different. So we pull different properties. We collect our data from different resources like AirDNA, STR Insights, and we are doing enemy method. We are studying as to what is the potential of the property, what can we add to the property, and what's the ceiling, like how far can we push. We are studying the competition, like a location like Asheville. If you're coming here, you have to have a mega resort. Like you have to convert every short-term rental into a resort. But that's the competition you're dealing with. But when you go to a location like, let's say, a market that's not as competitive, then you're okay by just adding a fewer amenities that could help you stand out. So every market is different, and that's how we study based on their budget. And yeah, we do the market research, then we pull out all the design inspirations based on how their current house is looking, and then we give an entire estimation as to what capital investment they are, a ballpark estimation as to what they're looking to invest to get to where they want to achieve their goals are. And then obviously there's back and forth based on their budget. We have to scale a few things down, but we do this entire study for our clients so they have a very good idea as to what they're shooting for.
So you have the initial consultation, and are you covering that in the initial consultation, or do you do that as a separate study afterwards?
No, in the initial consultation is what we cover, this 90-minute of market
Wow.
research, design, and a ballpark estimation. And only then, once we have all of this bundled up, we jump onto the mood board, on the drawing board.
So that's an amazing 90 minutes to cover that much. And I think that's very unique skill. Like a lot of, not many interior designers are able to kind of pull in, an understanding of comps and areas and how that informs design. And I think that's an interesting approach. So you do that, and then kind of walk me through your next steps if you're working with a client. What does your design process look like?
Yeah, after the consultation call, if the client is on board of all the ideas that we have put forward, and they are good with the budget that we're presenting to them, the first design meeting that we have is what we call as design kickoff. So in design kickoff, what we do is that we do floor mapping, right? We have floor plans, and now we are furniture mapping, and we're making sure that we are hitting the right occupancy that we want to hit. We are hitting the right amenity spaces that we want to hit. So we map the entire floor plan, and then we pull out each and every room. We pull out different inspirations. Those inspirations are based on the location. Is it a beach property? Is it a mountain property? Every mountain market is different. Asheville is a very culturally rich market where it is inspired by art, culture, food, music. So we bring local inspirations in our design inspiration mood board versus if we are working in a market like Sedona. Sedona is a very luxury wellness retreat, right? So people are going there for more hiking. You're drawing more folks from California. So what are they? They're looking for more subtle, more muted color palettes. So we're bringing all the color palettes, how every space needs to look like. So that's getting the overall picture, bird's eye view for our clients, like how the floor plan is going to look, what amenities are we going to include, what is the color palette going to look like, what are each and every room design inspirations look like. And once they are good with that, we have different sprints based on the size of the house, which could be like we're catering to sprint one, just bedrooms, and then we give 2 mood boards for every space that has 3D render images, that has furniture that we are selecting with each and every link, so they are able to see what quality of furniture that we are selecting. Yeah, so the overall picture, like we're giving them a holistic, realistic rendering of every space, and then they select what as to their preference. And once they select everything, we are heads down on our drawing board, creating drawings for our contracting team. So that could be elevations, that could be mood boards, that could be any call outs that we need to give, electrical layouts that we need to give. And then once we have a procurement sheet is huge in short-term rentals. Our marketplace is all the retail stores. So we are putting all the procurement sheet that includes the kitchen kits, that includes cleaning kits, everything together, bundle it up, and then submit, have our submittals done to our clients. If they are going to execute it, if they have opted for virtual design, then they run with it. If something that is a white glove full design service that we are going to execute, then it goes to a contracting, and then the work on the field starts.
So if I'm a client, there's kind of two paths. It's either virtual design or white glove. What's really the difference between the two? And can I do white glove if I'm not in Asheville? Like, can I do other locations, or is that for just in your region? All right, guys, I've got one quick favor to ask. If you've been enjoying Radical Hospitality, if these conversations have inspired you, encouraged you, or helped you think bigger about what it means to create spaces that truly serve people, would you hit the subscribe button? It's a small thing, but it makes a huge difference for our show and for our team. We're working hard to bring some of the most thoughtful entrepreneurs, builders, and visionaries in hospitality, people creating meaningful spaces all over the world. And your subscription helps us keep getting better every single week.
Yeah, there are 3 tiers in our studio that we offer. One is virtual design. Virtual design is everything that I talked about. Like, we are giving them from design mood boards to procurement sheet. We are going through the entire design. So we're designing everything for them so that they can take the entire construction deck from us or the presentation deck from us and execute themselves. So our job ends when we give them the deck, and we are still there to answer any questions if they have any during the execution process. But they are the ones hiring. The clients are responsible for hiring the contractor. The clients are responsible for coordination to get it to photo shoot ready or to get it to guest ready listing. Then we have a full design service, which is like the tier 2 is what we call it. In that, what we say is like, we're giving everything that tier 1 has, so all the designs and mood boards and procurement sheet, but we can add on, we'll procure it for you. Our team will procure all the items for you. We will track deliveries. We are disputing if any, we are tracking and disputing if anything goes wrong. And we are also coordinating the staging services. So the staging is huge, getting the entire place guest ready. So we are the ones helping them coordinate the staging. The labor costs and everything are on top of it. It is passed through to the clients. But the entire management of the procurement to staging is something that the full design service, and that doesn't matter what location you guys are in, we can handle that. And tier 3 is what we call it, is a complete white glove. In that, we are dealing with the GCs. If you want us to be your representative to answer any GC questions, we are going to do that. We're going to give more detailed drawings as electrical floor plans. We're going to give you detailed drawings of bathrooms if you want. It's just not finishing selections, but more architectural drawings. We will deal with the GC. We'll answer any questions. We'll be the one procuring, and we'll get it to like from design to guest ready. That entire service was just going to be a complete white for them.
And do you usually give proposals like all 3? So you have the option, or is that something that, the client needs to pick which direction they're heading down?
The client picks, we tell them what services we provide based on their budget and their involvement. They can pick whichever service they want us and however involved they want us to be in the process.
So you don't do 3 proposals. You kind of say, here's where we're heading.
Yeah. And on discovery call, we just tell them that these are the options. What do you want to go for? And then they pick one, and then we need to work that. Yeah. But there have been instances, for us, like we have started with one, and then the clients are feeling overwhelmed, and they want to keep adding on to it, and then we have been okay with that too. So that has been a situation too.
Yeah. And then how do you do fees? Like, is there a starting, for that initial consultation? Or is it just a fixed fee? Is it a percentage cost? Like, how do you have a price sheet? Like, how do your fees usually get structured?
It's so difficult. I mean, it's not difficult to answer, but there's so many different ways. Not every project is like...
I hate this question, by the way. You can punt if you want, but
No,
I
I
would
mean,
be interested how you guys approach it.
every project is so different and every requirement is different. So we have to tailor it as the project requires. But I would say like all the three services are based on per square footage. So we
Yeah.
charge per square feet. So a virtual design will be $6 a square feet and a white glove would be $18 a square feet because that has a more involved and we are managing the entire project. Full design is somewhere around $15 a square foot is what we charge per square feet. Consultation call is a thing that we charge for because we provide that to everybody, whoever wants to opt for it. But the minute they become our client, that the fees that they have paid for the consultation call gets rolled into our design fees. So it's not that they're paying something extra if they choose us as their design partners.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that approach. It's kind of cost per square foot. It's
Yeah.
such a difficult question to answer, and I think you've done a good job of like setting up tiers so that you have different options of service, and then you have, something that people can understand. So I like that. Let's take a look at some of your projects, and let me share screen here. Would love to just maybe pick one or two that's like your favorite. Let's dive in. Maybe tell us a little bit about the what it was before and how you guys ended up here.
I think Oak and Ember Estate is definitely one of very close to my heart a project. This was my first project in Kentucky, a very new market last year for me. So if you see this before and after, if you just move that slider over, this was the before and that's the after.
Great way to show that too, by the way. I like the web. Yeah.
Right. So the before that door led to an unfinished basement space, which was more utility, but it had enough room that we could add amenity. But if you see this, hospitality design, short-term rental design is all about experiential. And in our studio, we are big into getting local inspirations. And we believe that the minute you enter the house, your vacations should start the moment you step in. Right. So there are two things. One, the guests who are in it have to experience the local aspect of where they are at. And second is it has to be very much scroll stopping. So while you are scrolling through thousands of listings, the listings have to catch your attention and you need to stop your scroll and deep dive into what this property has to offer. So one of my favorite features that we designed in that, if you go back up to that picture, was an invisible door that led to Speakeasy. Kentucky is known for their speakeasies, and that's what we designed. So as you enter that door, it gets you to a nice bourbon lounge with a poker table, and that leads you to a theater room. But that barrel wall with the indirect light, it was fabulously designed. I think this is one of my favorite features that we've designed in the studio.
Yeah, this is super fun. And it is, short-term rental is its own unique design. It's not what you would design for a single family home. It's not what you necessarily would design for a hotel, but it has this, hey, I'm coming to, have a good time. It's a place that I feel, like I'm escaped, but it's comfortable still that I can hang out with my family. When you're looking at this stuff, and this is this things that it's like much more complex than you would really initially think of setting up short-term rental of, oh, I'm just going to paint it some pretty colors and make it look good. This really feels like I'm stepping into a place and then I go back to that initial conversation where you're looking at, okay, I'm investing some dollars really on here. I would think, what you're putting in is kind of creating cash flow, but then you're also having to think about, am I creating value on the backside and increasing the value on that? When you're looking at this, how are you kind of judging, where do we put dollars? Is it more important to create a well cash flowing short-term rental, or is it more important to think about a long-term, am I creating a sellable product? And is that a thing now? Can you sell short-term rentals at the value that you create them at?
I feel like the industry is maturing and growing in such a rapid manner every year after year that short-term rental, once it's converted into short-term rental, it's very hard to say that a primary homeowner will come and buy a property like this, right? And today we have such hospitality or institutional buyers who wants to buy short-term rentals. They want to buy a portfolio of short-term rentals. So a normal short-term rental portfolio would, give you returns of like anywhere from 20 to 35% on cash flow. But institutional buyers are very happy even if they get 12% return on their investment. So they are looking for properties that are cash flowing well. So I would say it is a balance. It is, again, it's very different with every client. In our studio, we have been very lucky to have 80% or 90% of our clients who understand. And that's what we bring to the table. And the reason that they trust us, because we are in it. We have proved by our own investments. We have our own case studies to prove. So, for example, in this, as you enter through that door, which was an unfinished basement, we converted into a theater and a speakeasy lounge. That's an added square footage to the house. But it also adds amenity to the space, which drives more bookings, which is experiential. So I think that's what we're trying to always balance out, that, hey, if we're creating something, yes, it should appeal to the audience, but it also should give a high ROI to our clients as well.
I think that's really telling. Like the industry is maturing, and I think a lot of people kind of stepped into short-term rentals early on as like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm going to try this, but if it doesn't work, then I'm going to be able to back out, sell it as a long-term rental or sell it as a single family. And I think the short-term rentals that are working now are people who have decided to just go ahead and go all in. For us, we built out like a $400,000 treehouse, and it was a very scary move to be able to do that, because we're investing in what is like 100% committed to be a short-term rental. It works amazing. People love to come to stay there, but no one's going to buy that as a long-term single family. And so it really has become its own category. And I think that's what I was hinting at before. It's kind of a space between hotels and single families. And, where the market has gotten a bit crowded now, the, dressed up single family house is not what people are looking for. They're looking for like fully committed, great vacation spaces. And, I think that's what you guys are creating with this.
Yeah. And I completely agree. I think people are looking for experience. They want to look for something that they cannot experience on day to day in their own house, in the primary house. They're not looking for another primary home looking vacation rental when they're going out and spending all the money to vacation with their families. So that's definitely a big differentiator. But one of the properties, I'm not able to pull it up right now, but this was a 3-bed, 2 baths, a small, tiny new build home our clients had bought, and it was sitting on half an acre of a lot with no garage space, with no rec room space, no added spaces where we could put in amenities. We could put games, or we could convert those spaces into theaters. So the only option that we had was, that's when you look at potential. We looked at the house having a front yard that we could create an oasis. So we created a tiered landscape project for our client where we had outdoor spa, outdoor dining, outdoor seating, a small little mini pot fire pit, outdoor movie theater experience. So now that, and we lit it up by string lights. Now that hero shot is something that caught everyone's attention. A 3-bedroom home, when we were doing our data analysis, would, the ceiling was like it would generate around 60,000 of gross revenue a year. Just sleeping 12 people in the house with no amenities, it would have easily done $50,000 to $60,000. We invested in the landscaping project that literally accelerated or shot up their revenue to 130,000 year one. So that doubled their revenue, what they were expecting in a house. And that landscaping project stays with the house. So we added value to the house. And today the house is worth much more than what they paid for. So that's what I'm trying to see. Looking at the potential as to where can you add experiences, where can you add potential that your guests can enjoy, is something that we really look into. And we pitch it to the clients, and if they dive into it and they bite it, then great. The project is hugely successful for us. And we have done it over and over again and have so many examples like that.
So I'm just going to pull up the Hollywood one here, because this one jumps right out as an example of a great landscaped project. It's fun, it's bright, and you've got kind of, the basketball court and the golf course here. What are some of the amenities right now that are really driving, these great outdoor spaces? What are the things that you look for when you start to lay out a landscape project?
Being in what kind of market determines what kind of amenities you can provide, right? Like if you are in a mountain market and you're sitting on a sloped hill, there is no way that you could put a pickleball court, because just to grade the land it is so expensive to just level that land. So it depends on the location. It depends on the market. Is it like golf golf, a lot of golfers in that market, a lot of golf clubs, and we do add mini putts a whole lot. But the amenities that I'm seeing, at least in 2026, we have started adding a lot more pools in the area. So swimming pools are becoming huge in mountain markets like Asheville. We have like full-size pickleball courts, basketball courts that we add, mini putt golf courses, Initially, it used to be like one big giant mini putt course. Now it's like literally going to a mini golf course with 7, 8 golf courses with different hurdles is what we are trying to add. A spa wellness deck is huge, or if you can have a cold plunge, hot tub, sauna, if you can add that on, that is huge. People love it. Outdoor grilling stations, outdoor dinings are huge. Fire pits, different built-in fire pits, and we work with lighting a lot. Like we are talking about amenities, but I'm just saying everything gets tied in so beautifully together if we can just dress it up nicely with the nice designed lighting around. Either it could be indirect LED strip lights, it could be string lights hanging over. We do see a lot of, those hype domes that are stargazing domes is what we call it, that we can put it on, that could become a nice reading station. We put a telescope in there. So yeah, those are the kind of amenities that we are seeing more and more. We have life-size games. We just did a project with a life-size Monopoly board, which is huge hit. People love it. So that's what I love about this world. You design, your creative juices can keep running wild, and you can just keep executing if it permits. So.
Yeah, and I like that you're continuing to create and, use what your imagination is. I think a lot of people will probably, take an idea that you did last year and put it on their 5 Airbnbs. But, I think what makes great designers is that you're constantly, looking ahead. I'm curious, before we move off of this one, just thinking like budget range for an outdoor landscape, what would you guess, or maybe you remember like the budget range on an outdoor landscape for this project would have been? Just to kind of get an order of magnitude.
This was around $85,000 project for landscaping alone.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, I feel like you got a lot of miles in 85,000 there.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it's scary, looking at these things and not knowing, where you're going to end on the back end. And this is San Antonio. They probably have a little better labor cost down there. I swear, Colorado, I feel like we can't move, a patio without spending 85 grand. It's hard to get much done. So
it is scary. I mean, like renovation projects are never like once you start renovating a project, it's like opening a can of worms, right? There are surprises. So you cannot always anticipate like, hey, this is it. This is the dollar you got to spend. There are surprises. There are things that I would never say that we always hit the budget. We're always probably most of the times over budget, but that's an ongoing communication between the client and us that, hey, this is what we're looking at. So, I mean, that needs to keep on going, and then we scale back. And that's what the thing is. Renovation projects are very tricky we ballpark it very close, but it's not always that we hit the budget. We are always exceeding them.
And a lot of it's out of your control. A lot of it's, what contractor they hire, where they're doing work, how they negotiate. How do you guys approach budgeting? What budgeting information do you give to your clients? Who's responsible for it? What points in the design process do you look at it?
Well, short-term rental industry, especially on the design board, I come from an architecture background. I come from a residential and commercial designs, and I know the timelines. And the timelines that we work in this industry are crazy. Like we are renovating and designing a 7-bedroom homes on the drawing board in like 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
Right. So we do not have the time, like, hey, let's design, let's go to the contractor, get the bid. Is it feasible? And then change and have an iteration done. We do not have that flexibility or that luxury of doing back and forth with the contractor. So we have to at least guess initially. Obviously, once you develop a good relationship with the contractors, you can nudge them. And once you've done number of projects, you know the ballpark as to what it would cost. So we do ballpark estimate. That's what I was talking about in the consultation call. The third portion of it, we do have like a thumb rule on every room spend that we would want to allocate dollars to. And then we design based off of that. But our process is like, hey, this is what we have agreed on. Let's say the client agrees to $250,000 or $400,000 budget. We start designing to it. Once we are done on the drawing board, we give it to the GC and then they collect different bids. They present it to the clients. If the clients are good with it, then the execution starts. If the clients are not, then we might have to come on the drawing board and reiterate 1 or 2 rooms to just bring the cost down, or we phase it. But it has never happened. Like sometimes in short-term rentals, once you start renting it, it's very difficult to stop your rental and then add it. In our studio, we have seen mostly 98% of the time, whatever we have come up with, like, these are the things you need to add, people have gone and, ran with it and executed in first phase itself. So that has been our process. It is a back and forth between the GC and us, understanding RB and the client. So it's ongoing communication until the client approves the budget.
Yeah. What do you think are, interior-wise, some of your favorite new amenities that you guys are incorporating in that you like to see into interior spaces?
As I said, outdoor lighting, I think since 24, I would say we are getting huge into indoor lighting as well. Interior lighting, experimenting with indirect lighting. That could be LED strip lights on the feature walls, consoles, or indirect strip lights around the bed frame, just to create that ambient feel as you enter, right? Like that's what hospitality is. Like, how are you making them feel more luxurious? And lighting has a huge role to play with. If you scroll a little bit down, there is a project that if you see the ceiling has a mural. So that's the fifth surface is what we call, which mostly gets ignored most of the time. So if you see those 2 projects, we have done a very nice feature of a wood trim on the ceiling. And then it has an indirect LED strip light to it as well. So this entire concept was very Japandi. So Japandi and Wabi Sabi is a project that it has fluidity. So we were exploring the fluidity concept on the ceiling so it just creates a visual interest. You can tag it. But yeah, so if you see that there are murals on the ceilings or there's a solid painted wall. So we understand, like, okay, how do we create it more, how do we make it more cozy, So painting even the ceiling just a dark gray color just adds so much depth to the room. Or we are adding an element on the ceiling that becomes a showstopper or a mural to the ceiling. So that's a fifth surface that I love to work with a lot. I love to work with lighting a whole lot. And
for that curved wood, is that a product, or is that something you guys had them custom bend the wood treatment to get that? How is that done?
It was a custom built on site.
Yeah,
so there were like thin layers of plywood sheet that they had to literally soak in the water, and they were curving it as they were putting and molding it. So it was a work of art.
Love that. What is the most overused trend that you're tired of seeing in short-term rentals that you're saying don't do that anymore?
I would say neon signs. I think anywhere they want to experiment with the light, they'll stick a neon sign on. They will just have a random wallpaper. I just feel like that's kind of overused at this point. And I think we need to make it more intentional. And that's what, as a designer, I feel like one of the things that I take a lot of pride in is getting a day to design, right? Getting a day. I mean, as you become from a solopreneur to a business owner, the creativity kind of fades away because there's so many other aspects to the business that you have to take care of, whether it is hiring and systems and processes. But one thing that I have really been very anal about is not leaving the design. Even if our team grows, I have to design, and it shows, right? Like with the intention that you have designed, the end product just shows. So you have to treat, at least I believe, if you have to treat every project as if it's your last project, you have to treat like every client is your most important client. And if you're running a studio or the intention that you're designing, it has a ripple effect on the people you are leading, right? That they see that the lead designer or the principal designer is really designing with intention. They're not winging it just to add more projects to the portfolio, but they're looking at each and every space. And that's what motivates me to make sure that the culture that we are building, that every day that we are looking at every project with consistent care and what it really needs rather than just doing overrated things every project, single project.
Yeah. I love that. And, it's one of those things that's, difficult as you grow. And I think you've done a good job doing this. But I would like to understand more, like, as you're growing your team and working with different clients, how do you maintain quality? How are you communicating design ideas across your team members? What parts do you hop in and hop out and leave your team members? How have you scaled and maintained what you're doing with your interiors?
Yeah, I mean, I started my design studio back in 21 and we are in 26. I started as a solopreneur, grew a team or a member or two, added them in my team. Today we are a team of 30 designers, right? So it's very difficult and we have 20 ongoing projects at a given time. So very difficult to be in every or touch base with every person. So what we have tried to do is create like a pyramid structure in our studio. So we have what I'm a principal designer, then I do have two design managers who understand, who have been with me for years, who understand what our standards are, what our deliverables are, who know what the quality. So they are like gatekeepers. They are the quality control gatekeepers. Under them, there are lead designers who, again, have been senior designers in our team for the last 4 years, who lead the project. And then we have junior designers. So all of these, like every design sprint has a schedule. A lead designer designs it, the design manager is a gatekeeper, looks at it, and then it gets presented to me when they have a final version of it. Every mood board will have 20 iterations. Only two would come to me, and then refined would go to the client. So but we have different gatekeepers. At least today, I look at every mood board that goes out of the door at least in our studio. But slowly as we are growing, we have to be realistic. I want to be at a point. That's why we have a lot of workshops in our studio. Every Thursday, we have lunch and learns where we are teaching our designers, because even if we have designers and architects in our team, they come from residential, like I did. I come from a residential and commercial background. A short-term rental is a complete different animal to tackle. So we are playing with colors, patterns, game room, theater rooms. Every concept is different. So there's a lot of training that needs to be happening parallelly. So we've done that and consistently trying to do a lot of lunch and learns and workshops with our designers. We do lessons learned of projects that we have done. What are the things that worked? What are the things that we could do better? So it's constant learning in our studio that goes on. And they get firsthand, teaching from me, from my experience that we have learned. So it's just back and forth. And then we have quizzes, every Thursday is a different topic that they have to probably search, come up with different wildest ideas of a game room that they can come, and there's competition. So we try to keep it competitive, healthy, educational. So that's how we make sure that the designers are well aware and informed and learning about the industry as much as I know.
That's amazing. And so in your studio, is everyone on the vertical of design, or do you have other departments like marketing and accounting, and what are some of the other key components that are helping, build and drive the business?
Yeah, we have an accounting department. We definitely have accounting. It's a huge one that we need to have. We don't have a big marketing team right now. We have a social media manager who wears different hats, who is an editor himself, who posts for me, who comes up with ideas, and him and I, we go back and forth as to what kind of content we want to put. But that is like a department I'm really focusing on, like next 12 months to grow, because it's a full-time job in itself. Like social media is a full-time job in itself. Then the other department that we have is procurement. Procurement is huge in our studio because we do offer that service to our client. And then we have something called as an in-house, our staging team that goes and stages the team. So that is a complete on-site team that we have. So yeah, we have accounting, social media designers, we have procurement team. We are growing leadership a whole lot. We have a directors of operations right now who is making sure all the systems and processes are in place, be it procurement, because that has warehousing involved, there that has like receiving involved, returns involved, a lot of dispute. It's one of the examples. So he has to make sure that the systems and processes in that realm are running. And then there are multiple other things. What I'm looking into is getting a sales rep, a client success manager. So a lot of leadership roles that I'm trying to fill in the next few months, like 2-3 months, that has their own roles and responsibility. But yeah, this is an ongoing growing pains of the business.
So impressed, in the relatively short sprint, you guys have grown and figured out these different components. We met through a boutique hotel mastermind group. I'm curious, who is coaching you these days? Like, where are you learning from?
I have not gone to business schools. No one really. I mean, I would say like I'm surrounded by friends and other business owners who inspire me a lot. I would give a whole lot of credit to Tyler Kuhn, who is a amazing friend of mine, a great friend of mine, who has a very rapidly growing business of his own that we are running parallel. He has a real estate business versus I have design, but seeing him, and he has mentored me in a lot of avenues, coached me and told me what is needed, challenged me. So I would give him a lot of credit as a friend, as a well-wisher. He has given a lot of insights. Then we have been, just influencers and friends around in the industries who are doing great things. We have been fortunate enough to sit on the same table and share our experiences, and they have just even sprinkled a few advices, which has been very pivotal for our businesses. And just constant, like I think podcasts for me has been great source. Following influential people on Instagram, reading the kind of books has influenced me. So it's just ongoing learning process, but I've not yet I have always thought of having a business coach, which probably would be a next step for me. But right now it's just a lot of people putting their, advices, which is great for our growth. That has helped us grow where we are today.
Oh, man. Well, so impressive. Such a great conversation. It's really fun to watch you from a distance and see what you and Harshad are continuing to do. So thank you so much for sharing with our audience and hopping on. And yeah, we hope to see you again soon, Ishita.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you for having me. It was such a fun conversation. Very refreshing to have a conversation with the architect after so long.
Well, yeah. If you ever need to have someone to, vent with, I can definitely share pain. So feel free to reach out if I can.
Yeah, so glad to know you. I'm looking forward to meeting you and seeing you very soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.